What did you know you had in your back pocket that was going to be financially stable for you? Was it gigging? Was it the teaching aspect of it?
Not really anything. So I dropped out of college and I was gigging full time, and I was making enough money to buy groceries and gas. And then some weeks I would just, put $5 in the gas tank and then $10 in the grocery bill, and then, hope that my gig pays me at the end of the night later that day.
Welcome back, America, to another episode of Pints and Professionals. I'm your host, Ramon Mejia. I'm not only a host on a podcast, but I also am a photographer and videographer. So if you ever need it, please let me know. I can help you in capturing photos or creating videos. Today's professional is William Wright, also known as Bone Daddy. And Bone Daddy plays in a lot of bands with his trombone. Plays in the latest band, Vincent Antone. He's played with Nightcap, Flyjack, and so many other bands right here in Austin, Texas. I love these episodes because after every show, there's never really a good point to have deep conversations with some of these musicians. And when I get them on this couch, I learn so much about the industry, about their life, about their relationships. And it's always a pleasure to have these working musicians in the studio. So without further ado, here's William. Apparently, William's taking a dump in my bathroom right now. He's playing with the cats. Yeah. Have a seat, pick up the mic, and dude, thank you for being the first guest to bring me a coffee. Cheers, dude.
Cheers, yeah.
Thank you.
It was that coffee place. Well, coffee truck.
What coffee truck?
The bowling place, Westgate Lanes?
Oh, Radix. Yeah, I had to look at the label, but I'm familiar.
That coffee, yeah, I'd never been to it.
Okay.
And it looked really good, so I just swung by it on the way in.
Right on. Well, thank you for coming by. What part of the Austin area are you coming from?
I'm coming from, I got to empty my pockets.
That's what I like to do these things. As soon as guests come in, let's just start talking. So
yeah,
this is perfect. I love all this.
I grew up in West Austin.
Oh, okay.
And I went to middle school, elementary school, middle school, high school in West Austin. But then I moved to Central Austin and went to UT, and then now I live Northeast Austin, Harris Branch area, kind of between Pflugerville and Manor.
Okay.
Up there.
Damn. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming all the way down here to have a little conversation with.
Yeah, I live Northeast, and then I work Southwest during the week teaching private lessons at the Eanes ISD school district. And then, I commute all of Austin. And so it really wasn't too uncomfortable to drive south.
Okay.
Because
all right. Especially during this hour.
I got like 2 hour round trip every day anyways.
Oh my God. Is that including traffic too?
Yeah.
Oh, obviously
so
that's dumb.
Lots of podcast time. That's for sure.
Well, maybe you can listen to your own voice on your commute back and forth. But,
I've never actually done a podcast before.
Well, welcome. It's pretty easy. We're just going to talk shit, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about your career, and probably a little bit about Denver and what a fucking party that was.
Yeah, that was amazing.
What a way to bring in a birthday.
Yeah, the big old 2-8.
28 years old, or young, I should say. When did you guys get in? Remind me. In Denver.
We arrived, like coming back?
No, not coming back. When did you get into Denver? Because we were there Thursday, I think.
We got on Friday.
Okay.
We arrived on Friday. Austin to Denver direct flight. Hadn't done Southwest in a while. Was a little scared because of all the news.
What do you mean? What's wrong?
Just all people are so upset with changing all the rules.
Oh yeah,
which I know nothing about.
Yeah,
but it seems. It made me nervous, but it worked out.
I get that. How many checked bags did you have?
I just had one.
Oh, okay.
Because they had the option still.
And so did you check your trombone?
Never.
Okay,
I try not to.
Okay, good. All right. I'm the same way with my camera gear. I always try to, keep it with me.
It's I just check a suitcase just so that sometimes when flying on planes, having my personal and an instrument can already be a battle. To like convince a flight attendant to be like, yeah, let my huge trombone into the overhead so that other people have no choice but to check their bag.
They really love that, especially on full flights. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm not liked.
Are you pre-check or
no? I have a problem.
What's the problem?
I'm not pre-check.
Oh, okay. That's not it's not a problem until like once you start flying a lot more, then it becomes much. You should do it because it is. I think it's worth $70 for 2 years or $80 for 2 years just to skip the line sometimes.
I believe the advertising. Yeah. I tell people the advertising. I'm so much of a proponent of it. I just haven't done it yet.
Well, how often are you flying?
Probably fly out like once a month.
Okay.
Right. So
yeah, you should probably get it if you're doing at least once a month. It's life changing. I wasn't a big believer in it because I'm such a tightwad, but then we started this touring thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably do it, and it's been so beneficial. How do you feel about people who fucking show up to the airport in the peasant, line that you go through in security, where they're showing up in sandals?
It's a little off-putting.
Okay.
I like the idea personally of being a closed shoe type of guy in public transport.
Yeah,
probably the most sanitary. But if you're going out, dogs ablaze, if you're walking the dogs through the airport, that's your choice. I mean, I just hope that it's backed up with some good personal hygiene.
It blows my mind. Like maybe I would like to think that these people just forgot, like, oh, shit,
the rest of their shoe.
Yeah. Well, or just socks. Wear some slides. That's fine too. And socks and slides go good together.
What throws me off is people who come to Austin's not a huge city, right? I'll preface that, but it does have big travel days. Mm-hmm. Yes. And whenever people come to the Austin airport expecting to breeze through security when it's like the last weekend of South by or something like that, and there's just so much yelling and complaining, and you're like, I know that you can't escape this kind of hysteria at an airport, but like people got to be able to understand that you're going to have a long travel day regardless. Bring shoes that cover all your feet, like come early.
Stay late or that.
Stay late. Stay late if you want to hang out at the stage.
Did you know the Denver show, which was Vincent Antone's sold out show at the Ogden? How long ago did he tell you, like, all right, come with me to the show and we're going to do it? And then when did you realize it's going to be on your birthday?
I knew immediately because he knew the date. Okay. Immediately.
Oh, all right. So.
But he was talking to us about this show. I can't remember. It was a while. It was several months before. We knew, I want to say by like the fall of last year.
Yeah.
Vince was, if he had not already brought up hold the date, we were definitely in conversations about, all right, definitely hold this date. And then from there, I think Vince went and added more of the crew and more of the instruments. But Vince told us relatively early on, it was like, hey, Ogden, it's coming up. We have this day. Just go ahead and just hold it. It's going to be an extremely fun concert.
And then you're like, yes.
And it's on my birthday. I know. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I planned my birthday like 8 months in advance.
What a fucking way to celebrate your birthday. Sold out show, jamming with the buds, lasers, parties. It was a good time.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite aspects of Vince's show is that the nature of it being so planned out from start to finish. Yep. Like he has his tracks and his show is produced, and then the live band needs to like conform and build on top of that production, and everything is so just like, it's such a straight shot. It's Vince put it so well. He's like, the easiest part of this whole process is just playing the show.
And what I know what you play, but what do you? Please tell my listeners and viewers what
I play. The wah, 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 wah.
And that is the trombone, which is, I think, the sexiest ska instrument.
More commonly referred to as big trumpet. Or that's a really nice violin. I get that sometimes.
Really? Man, how messed up are those people? Like, how drunk are those people if they think it's a violin?
Or some people will come up to me and they'll be like, I remember when I used to play a woodwind. I'll be like, I have no memory of ever playing a woodwind. That's funny that you bring that up. But yes, the trombone.
Okay.
Let this be, if you can superimpose an image of a trombone right here, this is a trombone.
Now, you guys were warming up pretty intensely, even during sound check. Why?
Warmed up?
Yeah, like Paulo was just blasting his saxophone out in the alleyway to all the homeless people.
Well,
welcome up.
I guess there's two sides to that, right?
Because
like
it's sound check. Like you're not doing a full performance. So I was interested in that, and that piqued my interest.
There's a good reason to kind of like play the sound check. There's a good reason to play the sound check in the same style that you're going to play the show.
Okay.
It's so that the engineers can dial in the mix of the front of house based off of the energy that you're going to put into the show. If you're going to blast, then you gotta test the limits to make sure that your mic isn't clipping, or that they're not preparing your sound for a completely different style than what's going to happen later.
Okay.
And the other half of that is for the monitor mix, the mix that we get ourselves.
Got it.
Making sure that while we're playing at our sound check, that we're playing exactly as close as possible to how we're going to play during the show, so that we can balance our mix and be prepared to just walk on stage and just start without having to be like, oh wait, can I adjust this?
Yeah.
After the show's already going. Because like I said before, like Vince's show is tracked out. Like once it goes, and they're
an hour and a half long show. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
And there isn't really an opportunity to stop and walk across, because in Ogden we were stage right, monitors were stage left, and so I can't really walk across the whole stage to be like, hey, can I get like 10% more snare drum?
Sure. That makes sense. Okay. I just felt like, as musicians, and this is just probably me overthinking it, but you only have there's a longevity to this thing. Like, so I was like, man, they're wasting a lot of, and this is me also being old, I'm like, man, they're wasting a lot of energy just warming up for sound check. Why would they do that? So thank you for explaining that.
Yeah. That is the other side of it. It's like, sound check what you can, but sound check isn't the time to rehearse.
Right.
Because you know exactly what you were saying, making sure that we don't wear ourselves out before we've even played the first song.
Did you guys rehearse prior to the show together?
We did.
You did? Wow.
We rehearsed twice.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And just like the show, the rehearsals were pretty straightforward. We would sit down. The horns have charts. There's also a spreadsheet that helps map which songs are happening in what order, if there's any notes for them, if there needs to be any like discussions in rehearsal that need to be had based off individual practice. And so it's most of the work happens individually.
Okay.
I'd say like 90% of the work happens individually, where Vince sends the whole show to us, and then we just listen to it. Excuse me. And then when we show up as a full band at Space or wherever in Austin to rehearse, then
right down the road from us, Space,
Vince will start the show and we'll go through it, and we'll stop if there's any like, if Vince is like, oh, I'm feeling horns here. Can I get something like, do you hear this guitar lick? Can we replicate that guitar lick in the horn lines? Or I like these hits that are happening here. Can we write in some horn hits to match these hits and these drops that I put? And Paulo Santos, our saxophone player,
the charting
excellent
master.
Excellent musician, and writes really clean charts. He'll usually jots notes down either on the moment with his laptop, or he'll put it in that spreadsheet. But yeah, we rehearsed twice. The first rehearsal typically is to just throw mud at the wall, listen through the whole show, have our music, jot down all the ideas, take note of everything that could happen. By the second rehearsal, we see what did happen by then. And typically, because the show is so plotted out, everything that we talk about in the first rehearsal pretty much happens by the second rehearsal. And then if any extra ideas come to mind, or any adjustments in the parts, or I like when you play it on this beat but don't play on this beat, we make those fine-tuning adjustments. That way, when we show up in Denver, there's no writing or rehearsing that's happening. It's just play the show.
I feel like, as a musician, how much is it important to be a good charter, or is that just some people like it, some people don't like it?
I think that having the ability is an amazing tool. I think it is super helpful. Sometimes, as a sideman in a lot of different bands, being able to put the effort of learning another band's music just down on the page to where a year from now, if I get called back for this band, or if I get called back all the time for them, I don't have to put any effort relearning any of the music. I just read it like a book. And I still have to refamiliarize myself with the style and maybe some of the more difficult passages in a band's set. But having sheet music is very easy to just clock in and play the show. And if I can write it myself, there's nothing stopping me from being able to, play any kind of music if I'm charting it correctly and if I'm representing the style well.
See, and I wanted to ask you all these questions at the after show or after party. And it was like, oh, man, this is not a good time to do that. But I asked Zach in a very inebriated state. And from what I remember, apparently, that's when he told me Paulo was the charting god, because he showed me his chart, Zach's charting schematic schemes, whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, man, that looks very complicated and very well noted. He goes, dude, you don't even know the half of what Paulo can do in regards to charting. I'm like, oh shit, okay.
It's super helpful to be able to chart.
How long have you been playing the trombone?
I've been playing since the sixth grade band.
Oh man. And what
2000
ska band got you into the trombone?
I'd say that no music in particular in elementary school inspired me to join band. It was my siblings.
Oh, okay.
I have an older brother and an older sister.
Right on.
And my sister, she did go through middle school band, but turns out the bassoon is not as cool of an instrument as she originally thought. And it's also a double reed, which is super hard. So she did not continue band. She became a tennis star.
Okay.
In high school.
Awesome.
Sorry to drop that diss on you. And then my brother, who joined middle school band as well on trumpet. Okay. And he's 3 years older than me. So we always shared a year in school together.
Got it.
So when my brother was a senior in high school, or going into his senior in high school, I was entering my freshman year in high school. And so I joined band or I had already been playing trombone in middle school, and now I had this bridge into high school with my brother, and which was really fun. We played a whole year together in high school. And then,
man, that's a good moment.
He kind of brought me into jazz ensemble in high school, and we would play orchestra together and all these different ensembles, and then we would also do some summer camps together, band summer camps as well together, which was fun. So I kind of credit my siblings and my family for bringing me into music.
Okay. Were your parents, what did they do for careers or still do for careers?
My mom, she went to culinary school. Awesome. And she taught a wide spectrum of jobs, teaching Zumba and Krav Maga, as well as leading a food pantry for the foundation's communities for several years. And then my father, he is a landscape architect.
Okay.
And so he does a lot of city planning and architecture stuff.
Okay.
Neither of them play music or play an instrument or sing.
I think they're artists in their own right.
Yeah.
In a different, industry, which is very cool. What did they say? So you do music full time, right? You teach, and then you also play in different bands?
Yes.
What did they say to you when you told them that was going to be your career, your pursuit of earning a living?
There was never really a definitive conversation.
Okay.
It was only support from my family the whole time. In middle school, I was good at trombone, and my parents wanted me to continue anything I was passionate about, obviously, and they wanted to support me, and they did support me an incredible amount through private lessons and through getting me an instrument, and for letting me practice at 5 a.m. middle school level practice.
Why were you practicing at 5 a.m.?
Because
was this in the house or at school?
This is at the house.
Oh my God.
This is waking up early in the morning practicing, because
Go ahead. Sorry.
Because my parents are like, if you're going to do this, you're going to be good at it. So they wanted me to practice because they wanted to hear good music in the house. Maybe that was the motivator. But also like I was doing well in like middle school competitions and like band placements. And so they're like, keep doing it, keep trying hard. And then in high school, it was the same story, but more advanced. I started doing more jazz and more orchestra, kind of like with my brother, and they pushed me to continue to pursue that. And then when it came to applying for colleges, turned out I was pretty good at classical trombone at this point, and I decided to apply to music schools for my undergrad. And Baylor, UT, West Texas A&M University, and I don't remember the fourth school I applied to because I never finished the application. I think it was Belmont University, next to Vanderbilt. Okay. Tiny little arts college. They had a music business program, and that's why I was interested in it.
Right on. And which one did you pick? UT?
Hook'em.
Oh, all right.
UT. And I liked UT a lot because it was close to home.
Yeah.
It was home and that's where I had Big Wise had already started. We had been going for about a year and a half at that point. Oh, and cool. They had a really phenomenal classical trombone studio there, led by Dr. Nathaniel Brickens. And I had been taking lessons throughout my middle school and high school experience. And my lesson teacher introduced me to the UT trombone professor when I was still in high school, and I had been taking trombone lessons with him periodically my junior and senior year. So I felt like I had developed a really comfortable relationship with the UT professor even as I was applying my junior year. So going to UT after I'd been accepted felt very easy. I knew the professor. Yeah. I knew musicians in the studio already who were already in college, but they had either gone to my high school or they had come and taught at my high school. And so I knew other musicians in the studio. I knew the professor. It was in Austin. My band was playing in Austin. It felt very natural.
Sure. Do you happen to know Xavier Davis?
Xavier Davis.
He went to the same music school. He plays piano. He plays with Maylot.
Yeah, I know Xavier.
He's my brother-in-law now.
Oh, that's crazy. I have not seen or talked to him in years. Okay. That's a deep pool.
Yeah. He lives right down the street from me. And
let's call him up. I'm just kidding. I'm not.
Let's hang out. That's what, when he said the music school, I'm like, I wonder if he knows Xavier. So, small world.
Well, yeah, small. I bet we even played in a few bands together.
So when did you? Okay, what were the levels? What was the difference level? What was the difference of levels of education that you went through? Like middle school, I think they're just teaching you the basics.
Yeah.
Like what's the difference of middle school to, college?
I feel like I have a really good perspective on this now that I'm teaching middle school and high school trombone lessons in the same schools that I grew up in. So middle school level, I think a really important goal of middle school isn't primarily to just like ingrain all these really good habits of the instrument. It's very important, but I think the most important part of middle school is to show the middle schooler what it means to be passionate about the instrument, or else they will not survive past the middle school level. In terms of, they won't grow past the middle school level is what I'm trying to say. They will survive. Plenty of people survive past the middle school level. But I think that in order to grow into an intermediate musician, especially on a wind instrument, you got to have something you want to work towards. And either that's a style of music or just like general musicianship. But I find that my best students in high school came from a point of passion when leaving middle school. And that's not even considering my most talented middle schoolers, because right now in my high school program, I have many students who weren't necessarily their the best in their class in middle school, or even the best in their class as freshmen, but now they're excelling because they found a reason to practice. They found a goal, something to work towards, and that's what's inspired them to not stop practicing and to not stop meditating on what good musicianship is and what being a musician is. So for middle school, we work on the fundamentals every day, every lesson. They have especially in 6th grade, there's a 6th grade trombone class, at least in Eanes ISD, which I think is relatively normal. But the 6th graders have a whole class period every day dedicated to just trombone. And they go in for like 45, 50 minutes, and that's all they do. And these are like a student-teacher ratio of like 7-1 or like 10-1. It's like just the 6th grade trombones and a director, which is really nice. Sometimes the classes are bigger. Sometimes less people sign up. It just kind of depends.
Are you part of this program? Like, are you...
As a private lesson teacher.
Okay, as a private... But so you're not associated with the with the
Eanes
school
ISD.
district? Okay.
I'm a contractor.
Okay, got it.
For the district.
Wow.
And so sometimes I'll substitute in these 6th grade classes or for a before or after school sectional or a master class. But largely my role is to coordinate with parents on whether or not they would like their kids to receive tutoring. Yeah. And then the earlier the better, in terms of if they think their kid is going to continue past the 6th grade. So in 6th grade, I'll show up at the school during the school day. I'll pull the kid out of their class, and then we'll go into a private lesson room where it's just the two of us, and we'll just hash out what they're working in class and what they're having difficulties with, or if I notice something that they're having difficulties with, about how they're holding the instrument, how they're breathing, how they're playing the music, if they are having trouble understanding a note or a rhythm. Like, we break it down, and it's very individual in the 6th grade level. The 7th grade level, you split up into bands, and you have the opportunity to go into these smaller classroom settings where maybe the low brass will be pulled out, or before school there'll be what's called sectionals, and they'll work on just the tubas and baritones and trombones, and on a few band pieces and some fundamentals. But largely during the school day, it's just full bands, full ensembles being directed, which is more of a like 50-1 teacher-student ratio. So it comes a lot more it becomes the responsibility is put more on the student to stay on top of their workload. And then that continues, that expectation of practice continues to grow through the 8th grade. And then especially as a freshman in high school, there are maybe, I don't know exactly how many students are in the entire high school band program that I teach at. Maybe 200.
Oh my God. That's more than my graduating class. Jesus.
It's big. I'm sure it fluctuates after COVID, but there is a complete responsibility on the student to practice everything and know everything before the rehearsal to a point. If there's a new concept that they've never even heard of before, never seen, then they break it down in those sectionals. Students are expected to go to their teachers to ask questions. Okay. And I would say that the high school program is styled a lot closer to just college. Okay. Where it's like the student's responsibility to learn their music, continue to grow their musicality, and pursue private lessons to just continue that constant level of just testing and expectation, high expectation of music performance and learning.
Got it. When does like music theory come into play? Is that constant throughout their education, or is that something that they need to go out like?
I've experienced it differently. Growing up through the middle school and high school system, music theory would come up very lightly in band settings, but because the directors had to teach everyone at once, having a little individual music theory moment was not very common. Okay. In jazz ensembles and small ensemble settings, music theory was a lot more important because there were less students. The directors had more time to dive deeper into subjects. as opposed to just playing through breaths of music and talking about just style in general.
Got it.
In one-on-one in lessons, my private lesson teacher would tie music theory into everything. And then at the high school, there is a music theory class that you can take as a junior or senior. And so there's the opportunity to learn in the school music theory, but a lot of the responsibility still falls on the student to ask questions and to just do a quick Google search, honestly. Most of the music theory that middle schoolers and high schoolers are expected to know is pretty rudimentary. Okay. It's like, what is, apart from like note names and rhythms, knowing what a key signature is, knowing what key you're playing in, knowing how to identify what key you're playing in, very basic stuff. And then knowing what, if you're learning major scales in middle school and high school, being able to explain certain basic major chords. And so I think that music theory is not a huge push that I've experienced when I was growing up in middle school, high school, to openly discuss music theory in classes. But the opportunity to learn is always there because my teachers growing up were extremely smart. And a lot of them left the high school to go pursue masters or doctorates or to teach at a university level, or they straight up retired because they're the GOAT and they came back to the high school level and they taught for forever. So I think that the environment at the school system that I grew up in was very much learning intensive and like very positive in terms of a learning environment.
How are you continuing to grow and learn as a trombonist? Is that the proper term? Trombonist?
Big trumpetist.
Big trumpetist. How are you facilitating your growth in your continuing education since now you're teaching it?
Now I'm teaching it. I know it puts my my own education into perspective when I'm like, wait, how do I want to teach this subject I've been thinking about since I was first taught it in 6th grade? I think that I focus a lot of my own personal growth and education in continuing to strive for expanding I listen to a lot more music now, I think is what I'm trying to say. And I try to listen to as much different music as possible. When I was at UT and even post-grad, I would find myself being invited to perform in a lot of different styles of bands, which I loved the idea of, because as a classical trombone major at UT who did a little bit of funk and soul and R&B on the side, I loved the opportunity to play with like a metal band or to play with like noise, just like noise music, or to play like atonally, or to be at a venue like filled with people, just doing entire shows, just improvising with no direction other than just feel it out.
I see you going from like this hoity-toity classical realm to like the down and dirty, you know.
Yeah, literally the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly. That's so fascinating to think about.
Which is really fun because you learn a lot from studying classical music, especially the trombone. And you learn a lot of tools on playing cleanly in a certain classical style and how you prepare your body and how you exercise yourself, and just like how you play is greatly fortified by practicing classical music. Wow. And so taking all that and then trying to just switch up the style completely was just really fun. And I continue to try and do that today, to seek out playing opportunities that are not necessarily inherent for the trombone, or that don't necessarily make sense for the trombone, that I've never even really heard of before, but it just sounds cool because I've never heard it.
What year did you graduate college?
I graduated college in 2022.
Okay. After that, did you have a sense of how am I going to pay the bills?
Yeah.
And
I think during college I had that sense too.
So going through your head, were you thinking like, is this music thing going to work out? Am I going to be able to pay my bills with this music thing? Or
I kind of always knew it would work out.
Okay.
Because I cared a lot.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I never stopped working at it, just rising tides lift all boats. As long as I continue to put myself in the same room as successful musicians and I tell those musicians what I want out of my own career, they will give me opportunities that they know interest me.
Awesome.
So in high school, I didn't know what I wanted. If it was to be, I knew I wanted to be a musician leaving high school, but I didn't know what kind of musician. I had no idea what was out there for me. And so when I went to UT for the first time, I'll talk about that in a second. I went into the classical orchestral program, tenor, trombone, orchestral trombone major.
You're such a nerd. It doesn't make sense.
And so I went classical and I was like, let's do it. I was good at classical in high school. Why not college? And turns out college is really freaking hard, especially classical music school. And I was really good at it. I didn't find myself motivated. And it took me a while to figure out why. And so going into my junior year at UT, I was starting to flunk out because I just couldn't figure out why I cared about classical music, even though I liked music. So I dropped out of UT and I just gigged full time.
Okay.
Any band that would hire me. And that year I did 200 shows and I was gigging almost multiple times a week, just rehearsals whenever I was free all day, every day. So I was like, let's schedule it. Let's do rehearsals. Oh, there's a gig. I'll do it. I don't care what it is. There's other bands on the bill. I'll reach out to them and I'll play with them. And I just like would play as much as possible with whoever wanted me to play for however much they were going to pay me. Because if I had an empty day in my schedule and they were offering me anything and I was free, I was like, I need to go to work. I need to make money.
Oh, yeah.
And I need to learn what the heck I care about.
During that time frame, how did you, I guess you just relied on your musician skills to pick up whatever type of music they were performing. Like when you get say someone comes out of the blue during that time period and be like, hey, I want to hire you for my show.
Yeah.
What would your response be? Like, hey, let me see your music? Or
no, I would pretty much just say yes if I was free, because there was always two things that could happen. Is either A would happen or B would happen. A, I would go and I'd play the show and I would suck, and I would figure out really quickly why I was not fitting in with this band
on stage, in front of people,
or in rehearsals. Like,
okay,
some bands rehearsed,
okay,
not all of them, or B, I figured out that it worked out really well, and there was nothing to be anxious about at all. And option B happened 99% of the time.
Okay.
There were a couple times where, like, yeah, I'd play a show and a band leader would reach out to me and be like, hey, you're really nice, but you were out of tune on this song.
Oh, shit.
Or, hey, do you know any other trombone players? Or, like people reaching out.
That one hurt me. Jesus.
People reaching out or not ever calling me again. And, that also taught me something, that maybe they just didn't like my playing with my style, but that was okay because I was just a random dude, just trying to just like hoof it through the scene. And so I just knew that every gig I took, I would not half-ass it.
What year was this again?
This is probably like 2018, 2019.
Okay.
And so I just took any gig. And if there are rehearsals, I would go to them. If I was free, if there was music, I would try to get it beforehand.
Yeah.
The first time I played Stubbs, it was for a band opening up for a much bigger band, and they had no sheet music and not really any recordings. And the only thing we were told was just feel it out. And it was a sold out show at Stubbs. And I had never met them before sound check. And so we just went in and we did it, and we ended up playing Red Rocks together less than a year later. So,
well, that's awesome. But
or a year later.
Just feel it out. Like that again. It's a professional musician that's getting paid real money. Did they pay you before or after the show?
After.
And they're like, hey, yeah, just feel it out. We sold out stubs. No big deal. It's not a famous place for music at all.
I think it was a little bit more from the place of, if we try to explain what we want from you musically, it would be like too much. Or it would be like, we really want you to just kind of like fill it out, do artistically whatever you feel like needs to happen, and don't overplay. Just kind of be like, be the chives on top of the mashed potatoes.
Don't be too present, but be present.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know, but maybe my over analytical brain in trying to make sense of everything is just overthinking this. But that's just like a sold out show is nothing, that's an important thing. And then just to put, I don't know, your brand on the line with strangers, like they don't know you. You could have showed up hammered and
Yeah.
But then again, to your point, like you are a professional. You saw the opportunities and you understand what that means to you, and and you kudos to you. But man, that's awesome that you are who you are and took that job.
I think the thing that made us stick with them as a horn section was we went in and we were baseline really professional. Yeah. And we did our best. We asked questions. We took cues on their comments that they gave us from soundcheck, and then from there we didn't get hammered. We didn't get blitzed because we knew we really had to have our thinking caps on, and went through the show nice and professionally, and got to know the band in the short period that we had between sound check, in between show, post show. Just get to know everyone, and then hope that the relationship is established before you leave at the end of the night.
And when you say we, you mean Liam and Paulo, or is this a different?
This was me and Wyatt.
Okay, I don't think I've met Wyatt.
AKA Kid Y, Big Y.
Got it. Okay. Now I'm making
AKA the Y.
Got it. So when you decided to do this thing full time, what did you know you had in your back pocket that was going to be financially stable for you? Was it gigging? Was it the teaching aspect of it?
Not really anything. So I dropped out of college and I was gigging full time, and I was making enough money to buy groceries and gas. And then some weeks I would just, put $5 in the gas tank and then $10 in the grocery bill, and then, hope that my gig pays me at the end of the night later that day.
God, man.
And I had as much work as I could put in the calendar was my security.
Got it.
And all this time I was surrounded by really incredible older musicians in the scene who were much more established. They were probably entering their phase in their career as I am now. Yeah. Like Zach, and all of these amazing musicians from the Heartburn, Alive One crew. Flyjack, started playing with Flyjack after high school early on, and when I was at UT, and I was learning a lot from Buck and Brad, and the musicians that they would bring in to play with them, to sub in. And so I would see how they advocated for themselves. I would always see Zach on Facebook being like, hey, you need to ask this much, or in discussions on the Austin Musicians Facebook page, chiming in on threads being like, if it's this kind of gig, you need to ask for this much. Or seeing other musicians debate about, well, how much is a musician worth?
Same in my videography, Austin, Texas. It's like, yeah, even I'm in like, dude, that is way too fucking low for that job, but if you want it, go for it.
Yeah. So that was my mentality always, which was, I am not recognized in the scene to the same aptitude as like Grooveline horns or trombonists who had just been operating in the Austin music scene for a long time professionally. So I knew I couldn't just come out of the gate be like, hey, I want to get charged a lot of money because trust me. It doesn't matter that I went to school.
Yeah.
No one had heard me.
Right.
So that's why I had to take anything that I got. And then through these gigs, I would be like, okay, like we've played, you've heard me, I've done the work. Like I would like to get paid more.
Yeah.
And then
they say
negotiate.
no.
We
and
do
then
that.
What do you say?
Typically, they always say yes.
Oh, okay.
And then you do a little bit more work, and I'm like, hey, I'd like to do this gig, but I just got offered another gig that's like 3 times the amount, and I really need to do what pays my bills.
Yeah.
And I love your music. Like, what can we maybe work something out, or maybe or just see what happens. So my value as an Austin musician increased as I stayed in the Austin music scene, which was another reason why I was thankful to stay in Austin to attend UT Music School, was because my entire time playing in the music scene throughout my time at UT, when Big Wise was still operating, playing UT co-op parties, playing venues, festivals, my value was just increasing as a college student. And then by the time I actually graduated college for real in 2022, I was very comfortable with my finances. And even when I dropped out of college halfway through to just gig full time, by the time I decided to go back and finish my undergrad, I'd already done a couple tours in Central America and played Red Rocks and gigged full time in Austin for a year. And I was like, if I don't go back to school now, I probably never get the chance to.
Yeah.
Funny enough, Zoom University was my next step. So there was already in the plans plenty of time to go back to school. I just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And so the rest of my undergrad was mostly on Zoom.
So and it's also, I mean, that's another question that I can ask is like, is it even the value that you get from a Zoom education versus actually going into the classroom? I think it shouldn't be priced the same, in my opinion, but
I think it's the value. I think the value is the same for certain subjects.
Maybe, but I'm thinking of like the utility bill that has to be paid in that classroom. And if no one's in that classroom, then therefore the costs should be adjusted because, I would like to think that my tuition is factored into everything that it takes to run a college campus. And
I could get behind that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's for a different discussion. But I'm glad you brought up this one big thing that happened in our lifetime called the pandemic. You heard of it?
Lived it.
But I've never had a guest on here that has seen the Austin music scene before the pandemic. So what was it like before the pandemic, and then what is it like after, 5 years after?
I'd say my perspective is probably still a little skewed, just because I feel much more comfortable calling myself a professional musician now than I did before. But
but you were
I did grow up in Austin. And I think the biggest change was probably a lot of venues closed. There was a changing of hands in a lot of the music industry. I think that losing some pretty key rehearsal spaces, losing some really historic venues, gave way to a lot of new venues popping up and a lot of new people kind of entering the scene. I think the hardest thing about COVID was just not playing in general, not having an opportunity to play out. And when we finally started to exit COVID and have larger gatherings and larger festivals were coming back, it was just all a little bit different because a lot of promoters had kind of given up because they had no choice. Venues moved. There was a vibe change. And through that change, the musicians themselves had to just kind of feel out what the new Austin scene kind of felt like. It looked a little bit different. It had the same spirit, but we just had to reconnect, I think.
That's reassuring. So it was different, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't think it was a bad thing. I don't think the changes that happened because of COVID were only because of COVID. I think COVID sped up a lot of changes. And certain venues that were having a tough time before COVID that ended up closing because of COVID, I think might have closed anyways.
Okay.
Just because, that's not to say that maybe a lot of these venues and promoters that if they would have had a little bit more time to get that thing prepared that they were working on that was going to change their business model or something, there's not to say that maybe some of these venues, if they had more time in a normal landscape, then they would have survived and grown. But I think that COVID sped up a lot of changes in the Austin music scene. And then once we emerged from it, people just had to clock into that.
Okay. Well, that's good news. Yeah. All the musicians that I've asked, they just came here kind of after COVID. So that kind of got me to thinking like, oh, maybe Austin was I don't know. It's certainly a popular place for music, but I think it's attracting more and more people every day.
There was an aspect of COVID where I interacted with a lot of musicians who moved to Austin from their home state because they were still locked down.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any opportunities to work for a year, close to 2 years after Texas had already opened up.
Yeah.
And so when Austin was starting to open up and shows were coming back, bands were touring here again, at least with like social distancing shows, the Hotspot up in Cedar Park where they had the car audience where all the cars would drive in and honk for clapping. Super awesome. I wish they still did that. It's kind of crazy looking out at an audience of cars. Kind of felt like the movie.
It's like a drive-in.
Yeah. But I think that I interacted and did some studio work for musicians who came to Austin to book studio sessions, who came to Austin to put bands together, to just try moving here because they lived in California or they lived in other states where their scenes stayed dead for a lot longer.
Yeah. That's a very interesting concept, and I'm not trying to put a political spin on it, but you kind of have to. It seems like conservative states were more open to, let's get business going again, and the liberal states, California, were like, no, we need everything to be safe. But then you're forgetting about the liberal arts, you're forgetting about the artists, you're forgetting about like these people need some form of space to perform in, and if you shut that down, well then you just killed their their career essentially. So that's very interesting that people are coming here to work. Yeah. Because of our interesting politicians that run this state, to put it nicely.
Yeah, I think that it's so complicated. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around.
It really is, yeah.
As frustrated as I was with my state opening and seeing just family and friends suffering because of it, especially those who worked within the healthcare system in Texas, or seeing those who lived in states like New York and the horrendous environments that they had to live in throughout all of the pandemic, whereas in Texas we were just kind of like hanging out, drinking Lone Star by the pool. It's a little depressing, but I think that I vote, and that's the most I could do.
That's pretty much all you can do.
And then I leave the rest up to the womps.
Your wife,
fiance.
Oh, that's right, fiance.
It's a long engagement.
Yeah, that's all right. She works in social work, right?
She is a social worker.
How does it make you feel when she comes? Because my wife is a wound care nurse, and her problems are not even remotely close to what I'm dealing with. So how do you guys talk about each other's day when you've been playing music all day and having fun?
It's a great question.
And then she comes home from just all the traumatic, cases that she has to deal with.
Yeah. We talk about this a lot, actually. Okay, it's an evolving conversation in it of its own. It's a great question. I think that there's two sides to it. There is. We'll talk about my job first.
Sure.
So it is very fun, and it has a lot of opportunities to mix play with work. And And I think that is a very like I think that's a very that's a benefit of my job. I would say I enjoy being able to step into the workplace and have a very calm, cool, collected band to play with and just have fun and play really good music and trust that we're all being as professional as possible, working as hard as we can, and just having a good time.
And that's by design. That's kind of life that you wanted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that there's, I'd say that's probably 2/3 of my music experience today is very relaxed. Everyone just kind of trusts each other and we go into it. I think there's a good chunk of my music career, I'd say about 1/3, that's pretty serious as well, especially when I'm teaching. It's very serious, being professional as possible, being aware that I'm in a middle school and then in a high school, and that I need to be a good example for these kids who are not only looking up to me as a professional trombone player, but also as just an adult in this world. And so the way that I interact in these different types of music gigs, in these different types of gigs, does change the way that I mentally prepare and express myself. So I think that there are more serious aspects to my job than maybe what the typical audience member will realize. In some bands I play in, they have like strict sobriety rules, which I don't think a lot of audience members maybe like could anticipate that as an aspect of certain jobs, especially playing like certain wedding gigs. The band and the crew are prohibited from drinking or being too loose from a personality perspective.
Sounds like a lame wedding.
Yeah. I don't think that's what the guests would have wanted for their band. But sometimes it is the nature of the job.
Sure.
And then Larissa, she has her undergrad and master's in social work. She's incredibly dedicated from her previous job and her current job, and a lot of her research and classwork at UT to working within homelessness in Austin and working within organizations that provide support for homelessness during an unhoused crisis and after trying to get people housed off of the street. And I find her work to be very profound. And I think that balance, I think, is very supportive of each other, that I can go volunteer at Larissa's work, or I can hear about her day and hear about the work she's doing, and I can kind of be reconnected to reality a little bit from being in entertainment.
For sure.
And then Larissa can listen to my day and listen to my work and disconnect from reality and come to a show and see friends and just dance.
I never thought of it like that. Like when I explained my problems to her, to my wife, I never really thought of, maybe she's just like taking a moment from thinking about that one patient who passed away today. Maybe she's just invested in me because she wants to hear about it. So I typically don't talk about my day a whole lot because, the last thing I think that my wife wants to hear about is my day, even though she just had a terrible day. It's like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, thank you for that. That's pretty impressive. I'll definitely consider that next time I want to.
How's your day?
My days so far?
Yeah.
Good. Networking event this morning, 7:30.
Nice.
And then
you bust out those business cards? How are we networking?
Dude, we don't have business cards. It's a very closed network. So like you're the only profession in that networking circle.
Kind of like cohorts a little bit?
Exactly, yeah. So we're just, sending referrals out to each other via word of mouth and that stuff. So it's very fun in that aspect. And then what else did I do? I felt like this is a very different day because tomorrow we're flying out to Minneapolis for Vincent Antone's show.
Nice.
That'll be fun. So I kind of like had a panic moment, like I have to set up the studio and then I have to pack and then I have a bros dinner tonight. And
bros dinner. Yeah, nice.
There goes my wife. She's getting her hair done. Funny story about her week is that she ripped her pants at work.
Ooh.
She's got that donk on her, and so
I've done that before.
I'm like, well, she sent me the picture like 7:30 in the morning, and I was just waking up, so I really couldn't like process what happened. And then she sent me like, can you bring...
Oh, did I park behind her?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
You parked behind me. Damn it, William.
Sorry, I totally threw you off.
Yeah, she ripped her pants, and then she sent me a text like, hey, can you bring scrubs? And I'm like, well, I feel like at a hospital they might have some extras, so why don't you just go ask, and then if they don't, I'll for sure bring it.
Did you have to bring them?
I did not. She found some OR scrubs that were super baggy, and boy, did we have a laugh afterwards. So that was a fun part of her day, because it definitely, her team was just, busting her, giving her shit. And I'm like, yeah, rightfully so. If they did it, you would do the same.
That's funny.
What, like, when you're at home and she's at work, do you try to take care of the house? Are you a clean person? Okay. Yeah, same. It's
naturally, we talked about this.
We did, yeah.
I'm a clean guy.
Same.
I don't mean to boast, but when I see something unclean, I kind of have a desire to clean it.
Okay. What are you seeing right now that's unclean? Anything that's tickling your fancy?
No,
right.
honestly,
you know why?
With the cleaning rack over there, that's pretty organized.
You know why that's the way it is? Because I can't live in filth, and I have to clean everything in order for me to even do my job. Like, the kitchen has to be clean.
Honestly,
I have to come in here, and everything has to be clean.
Props to you.
Yeah,
I think it looks pretty good.
I appreciate it.
I like this little tool cabinet over here too.
I do find that
I got that same stud finder.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I do find that I do need to clean these couches a little bit better on the side, because I'm getting cat hair, and I totally forgot to clean, just the sides of it.
Yeah.
I cleaned the couches, and there goes from our fucking children, cats, they're furry children.
Yeah, I think I do a lot of dishes, probably.
Yeah. And I find myself like, and this is the problem that I have that I need to address with my wife, that I'll address here on this podcast, which she'll never
lay it
listen
out
to. Yeah. I'm so frustrated with her because she'll leave shit everywhere. And then I just get in my head, I'm like, she's disrespectful. Why is she doing this to me? Like, I'm not a fucking maid. And then I tell myself,
I am a maid.
No, to
and I'm a really good maid.
I am a maid. I am really good at cleaning. And she has a stressful job. She's like, obviously she's a breadwinner, but there are times when I'm fucking bringing home that bacon, baby. And it's time for me to, eat. But anyways, I find myself like just having these own arguments in my own head. I'm like, she's so disrespectful. She's not picking up after herself. I'm like, Ramon, she has a fucking terrible job that no one in society wants to do. The bare minimum that you can do as a loving husband is just pick up her clothes and put it in the hamper. Yeah. Is that so hard, Ramon? And then I'm like, yeah, all right. I feel bad about myself. So, yeah. Do you ever find yourself just like...
Yeah. I think Larissa's stepdad gave it to me pretty plainly too whenever I asked for Larissa's hand in marriage from him.
From like 10 years ago?
No, like yeah, I'm old wise.
No, from like, because that's how long the engagement is. Get it?
Oh yeah,
I'm kidding.
that too. We chose a long engagement.
What did he say?
He said that marriage is not always like a 2-person job. Marriage is you both have the possibility of giving 100%, right? And then some days either you or your partner can't give 100%. Some days they can only give 80%.
Yeah.
Some days they can only give 60%. Some days they can only give 1%.
Yep.
And it's up to the partner to give whatever they can't to support them. If they can only give 1%, then you better bring that 99 and to give 199%.
Yeah.
Statistically, probably doesn't make any sense, but we're working here. Think of it as a pie graph. If she can't supply her half of the pie, then it's up to me to step in and to not make a fuss of it.
Yeah.
Unless it's a thing, but it is never a thing.
Right.
And to clean that dish, because sometimes she wakes up 2 hours before she needs to, because she knows I have to leave in an hour, and she'll make coffee for me.
Oh, damn. That's so nice. It's those little things that you really never understand until you get in a relationship, until a good one. You're like, oh, yeah, she just made me coffee.
And some weeks I'll do the laundry like for that whole month, and then I'll have like back-to-back shows while hopping on a tour bus while flying back in, and all of the laundry that was there when I left it is done and folded and put away. Or she cooked.
Dude.
a whole week's worth of food waiting for me in the fridge. Like, or, you know, it could be an endless list of mostly chore related things. But sometimes it's you know, like, I know you've been working really hard. Let's go to Chewy's happy hour.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's on me. Which is our favorite line.
It's on me.
It's on me.
Yeah, that's that's awesome. And that's why I like doing these podcasts, is because I find out tidbits of information, whether it be from, you know, a business aspect or, you know, a relationship aspect. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you for sharing that, man. That's awesome.
Of course.
Going back to Denver, what was your favorite part of that show, if you had to pick one moment?
Man.
I know there's so many, but you can only pick one.
You know, sometimes I just put the show on in my car.
Really?
Still.
Oh, okay.
Like, not even the show mix, because I don't have that. Just like
you don't have it yet.
Just
we're working on
just the rehearsal stem.
Yeah.
I'll just toss that on in the car. And I was like, I know the show already happened and this was for rehearsal purposes, but I still listen to it.
Okay.
The whole show is my favorite part.
All right. Okay.
But if I were to pick like a song, I really like the closer or the encore, High Vibration. I think is what it's called. Vibrations.
I don't know it either. I've been touring with Vince and I don't even know half of the songs, so don't feel bad.
I just think it's so fun.
Okay.
Really fun melodic horn line. I think Paolo had a hand in that. And also Vince wrote some really just a really amazing closer. And it's one of my favorite moments in the show. I wish that song was way longer. It's only like 2.5 minutes.
It's a very short song.
That needs to be at least 7 minutes long. I don't care what section we need to loop. Probably the one where the horns are playing. That would be my preference. But that's one of my favorite parts of the show.
Okay.
My other favorite part of the show is there's a couple moments where there's like a bass trombone feature. One of them, it's only me playing bass trombone. And bass trombone is not a super common instrument for an audience member to see.
Okay.
Pretty much the exact same as a tenor trombone, which is what the audience typically sees. But it's conically, the instrument tubing is wider and larger. The bell of the bass trombone is larger. And there's an extra trigger, which allows me to access lower partials of the instrument. I can play lower and have a bigger sound on the bass trombone. And so whenever this song that's featured, I can't remember it, not Pale Blue Dot. I'll remember it sometime next week. I'll remember the song name when I'm driving home listening to the rehearsal. But this song, it just features bass trombone, and I get to blast really low, and I got to stand in front of the stage and just kind of like be the laser of low brass and just totally melt people's faces. And it's awesome. They'll remember it's a bass trombone when it's blasting them in the face, not a big trumpet.
The birthday cake wasn't.
Oh,
was
yeah.
it a moment? Was it one of your favorite moments?
It was one of the hazy moments.
Okay.
I remember the cake, and it was a really good cake.
Oh, yeah.
Who got it?
I think I don't know. Maybe it was.
Who thought of it?
I think it was I want to say Kyla, Vince's girlfriend,
or
maybe even John. Well, John brought it out.
John brought it out.
Yeah, he brought that cake for you.
I was not expecting the cake. That was a really sweet moment.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Especially when Zach messed up Happy Birthday.
I was really Zach is a phenomenal pianist.
I think he might have been changing to the key of the crowd.
Regardless, it's Happy Birthday. How do you fuck that up, Zach?
I don't think you did, Zach. I think you were big branding.
We'll check the video
check the footage.
And then so show wrapped up 1:30 in the morning.
Sounds about right.
Late.
Because then we went to the after party.
We had the after party, which was it was. I don't want to say it was as cool as the show because the show was cool, but I don't know. I love a good house party, and this time it was in a basement, and that's fun. They had a DJ there.
It was bumping.
It was bumping. I couldn't even get to the outside, and I was also hired to do photography there, and that was a bad idea because I was also.
That's why you were working at the party.
Yes, I was also.
I thought you were just on one creatively, I gotta get the angle.
No. God,
you were working.
I cannot mix, and that's when I never have a beer when I'm working because then that puts me into party mode.
Yeah,
I just want to shotgun beers and I want to slam Miller Lights all night.
All it takes is one shotgun. You're in party mode.
One, and then once it hits your lips, brother, it's just it's fun time now. But then Christian was like giving me beers after we got back to the house. I'm like, all right, well, I still have to go photograph this show. And I was having so much fun slamming beers and taking photos, but I'm never going to do that again. It's either one or the other. You can't have me do both. I'm not I'm skilled, but I'm not that skilled.
You're telling me you can't casually shotgun a beer?
Not with camera in hand. I can do that off the cuff, but yeah.
Yeah, no wonder the cops came to that party and told everyone to go inside.
That was also the fun part is that here, I remember being in college parties and the cops come like, oh, fuck, we gotta
run.
Yeah.
But then the cops came and were like, wait, we're all adults.
Exactly. And that was the coolest moment. I was hammered. I had 2 beers in my hand. Cops came. They were yelling at us to get inside. I'm like, what are they going to do? Tell me to put down the beer?
Not nearly the same amount of fear.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just kind of like oh.
Yeah.
All right.
There was that level of
drive
by.
God.
Yeah. Oh my God. The cops are here. What are we going to do? And I'm like, hold on. I'm 37. What are they going to do to me? That was a fun moment. Did you see the guy trying to climb the wall?
I was literally that's the next thing about to come out of my mouth. Did you see the dude scaling the wall from the outside?
And literally there's a gate right down the side that he could have walked through.
Yeah. And then he decided to climb back over the wall to use the gate from the outside. Yeah.
That was fun to watch.
I think there was approximately 2 brain cells at work for those decisions, which is awesome.
And Zach was kind of egging him on. I'm like, dude, you were a problem in high school, weren't you? He's like, yeah, it kind of was. That was fun. And then it was time to go back to the house around 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Or even sooner.
Maybe I think we left the house for the airport by 4:30.
Yeah. At that point I realized, okay, we're going to probably see a sunset here because my flight leaves at 8:30 and
you had never seen a sunrise.
I can't think of a moment where I stayed up through the duration of the day to where I could see a sunrise.
Did you play a song right at sunrise? How did you celebrate your sunrise?
Well, we shotgunned a beer on the porch at the Airbnb with
at sunrise.
Yeah,
man, you really can't casually drink,
dude. No, it was a good time.
Okay,
and at the same time, I was copying over footage. I was trying to again wear 2 hats, but yeah, we shotgunned a beer on the porch. That was an awesome moment. I wish I would have captured that on I captured after the shotgun on my phone.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was a good time. Did it with Zach, Christian. I think Steven also did a shotgun. And then I realized
when we were taking off.
Yeah, and then it was time to go. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll call the Uber. And then those asshats fucking called us on Facebook message.
That was right when we were boarding our plane.
And that was also a very fun moment. I'm like, oh, man.
That was sweet.
I'm trying to get through security. I don't know if I'm mumbling or not. This is not good.
I was falling asleep. I was actively falling asleep. We got to the airport. We parked our Turo. I left my sunglasses in the car.
Oh.
And then we got on the
Ray-Bans?
The shuttle. No.
Were they nice?
They felt real. They were one of my favorite sunglasses.
Dude, you just gotta get the swag sunglasses.
Now that they're lost, they're actually Larissa's best friend's sunglasses that she stole years ago, and then we just kept them, and now I lost them. So now I can just say it.
You're paying it forward in a way.
Yeah, I bet
so you dropped off the Turo, you got on the shuttle.
Fell asleep on the shuttle, and then Pal and Liam were like, wake up, we gotta go. And I was like, oh yeah, I stayed up all night. Just playing a show and getting hammered and then going to a party.
Yep.
And then we got into the airport. I was just kind of lightly falling asleep in the airport.
It's not an easy airport to get around. You got to take another shuttle.
Everything's big.
Yeah.
Far apart.
Yeah. You got to take another shuttle to the gate.
Thankfully, security was almost empty. So we walked through security.
Okay.
But by the time we got to our gate, it was 20 minutes, 15 minutes before boarding. So we timed it pretty well.
Good for you.
if there was a line in that security, we might not have timed it very well, but there wasn't. And then I left my actual seeing glasses in the terminal because I fell asleep in the chair. I forgot I needed to see as a
all right
as a need
that's
for existing.
That's not as bad as like I
lost all my glasses. Sun and seeing.
That was
day and night glasses.
That's expensive. Well, not expensive. I don't know how much your glasses are, but you can't see. Like
they were both free.
If you were in the apocalypse, you would have probably died days after because you didn't have your seeing eye glasses.
Yeah, right? If I was in the apocalypse, I would not have. I currently don't see. It's okay.
I felt like I could have slept another 45 minutes, but at that point, what would be the point? I would just have to. So it was just.
I felt like I could have slept for a week. My body was actively going into sleep mode.
Yeah, I was. I'm a big McDonald's guy at the airport.
Oh,
and I typically look forward to that. But
what's your go-to breakfast, Sammy, at the airport and drink?
2 Egg McMuffins and a coffee. That's
Egg McMuffins. Cheese? No cheese?
Oh, just
sausage or bacon?
No, the ham, the Egg McMuffin.
The egg with the ham.
With ham. Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm typically happy about that, but this time I was just so sad and just so drunk. I'm like, this is not the way I want to. I was happy.
It sounds like the best way to enjoy an Egg McMuffin. Sad and drunk.
I was by myself. I'm just like, man, I just had such a good time. Now I'm eating McDonald's by myself because Christian bitched out on this plane flight, and because he was supposed to come with me on the.
What, did he get a later
flight.
plane?
Oh yeah, he switched it like the night before. I'm like, you son of a bitch, left me high and dry.
I should have done
catching
that.
An Uber.
I didn't even think of it.
Well,
someone texted me. Did you text me?
No.
Casey was texting me and be like, "Did you switch your flight yet?" I was like, "Dude, I can't even."
I'm already on the flight.
I can't even see. Like,
oh man, but that was a
what
great
do you want
time.
From me?
And then I got to see you guys on Easter. And that was fun.
Oh yeah,
with Outlaws of Funk.
Outlaws of Funk.
Talk a little about that show.
That was a very fun show. That shows a good example of work versus play, and how they can become intermingled.
Yeah,
and that was a fun show.
It was a.
I just had to do a quick recap in my brain, and yeah, super fun show.
Yeah, no, it was a special day, Easter, and another important date on Easter happened, but that was
That's a good example of a show where, like, we, as a horn section, it was me and Paolo, and
that was it.
That was it. Yeah, me and Paolo. I was trying to think. I know Kevin was there. Kevin Flatt was there, but I saw him.
He was there, yeah.
And I was like, "What's up? You're playing?" And he was like, "No." I was like, all right, let's go." So me and Paolo, we clocked in on it, and we got the set list a couple days before. Thanks, Zach. And I think that that's a good example of, like, as a sideman, sometimes, like, you get music sometimes you don't. But the overall expectation is just don't kill the vibe. Yeah. And just do your best. And that's what we did. We had a lot of fun with it.
You guys had a lot of fun with it. It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
It was, I had just gotten done filming my Xavier's elopement. Xavier Davis.
Oh, let's go.
So you got married that day on Easter Sunday, 420. It was a fun day. And then I went over. They didn't have a reception or anything like that. So I'm like, man, this is a good time to party. Of all the days, it's time to good. It's a
reception
good day to
at Half Step.
Yeah. And so went over there, saw you guys, and God, it's always fun to watch. I know when I come film you guys or take photos, I'm really not listening to music, but when I just leave my camera at home and come watch you guys, God, the professionalism, the musicianship, it's just the talent. It's like, I want everybody to come see this because this is not something you get to see every day. But you guys play everywhere, all over Austin, and there's so many opportunities to see you guys.
I love playing, but honestly, my favorite thing to do is to listen to music. So I completely understand the sentiment of leave the gear at home and just go and just listen, especially like friends shows. I love just leaving my horn at home when I have the opportunity to play with them because I want to just listen to them.
Right.
and I don't want to feel like I have to sit in or that I have to consider sitting in. I was like, no, I can't sit in. Sorry. Unless you have a spare trombone, you really want me to play it that bad, we could tear it off the bar wall and unrun it over, and then I can play it. But otherwise, I love just listening to music. And I honestly, in a live setting, don't get the opportunity to listen to a whole lot of live music very often. Usually it's going to a show, and I'm either
booked, man.
I'm either playing on a night live music would happen. I'm either tired from playing shows, I don't want to go out, or I'm hearing bands before or after I've played, and it's either I'm getting in my playing mindset and I can't really fully disconnect from being a performer enough to listen to your music, or I just got done playing and I can't disconnect that much from the show I just had enough to be like an active listener. So getting the opportunity to leave the gear at home and go out and play is huge. I always find myself having some kind of a revelation about my own playing anytime I do that.
Dude, when I went and saw you guys, I'm like, I always go into a job with a certain hesitancy of like, man, I really don't want to fuck it up. I really don't want to miss this shot. I really don't want to, I don't want to mess up their brand in any way. And then when I get to a show by myself and I leave my gear at home and I truly get to feel the music in a very corny way, it just inspires me like, okay, next time you go film somebody, take that passion that you feel for that music and just put it into work, and you'll forget about, the mistakes that might happen. That'll just go by the wayside. So, yeah, I think it's important to leave your instrument at home and go out and enjoy the art that you work in.
Yeah.
So, well, we're well over an hour.
I have no idea how long we've been talking.
Over an hour at least. I always forget to set my timer. But we're well over an hour. Where are you playing this weekend? What are you excited about? What shows are coming up?
Let me look at my calendar.
Damn, man.
I got
that busy.
I got to clock in on the calendar so that I don't give a wrong answer or a wrong time. Let's see. This weekend, I have a fun gig I've been doing lately. I won't get into it, but I've never really been a merchandise seller before. And I've been doing it a lot recently with Corey Murrow.
Okay.
Touring Texas popular country band.
Yeah.
Regionally touring country band. And amazing musicians.
Yeah.
Corey's such a nice guy. The crew is amazing, and the touring manager, Drew, what a baller. And that's kind of cool to dip into different aspects of the music industry.
Sure. Selling, you said merchandise?
Yeah, selling T-shirts.
Dude, okay.
Supports me really well.
Yeah.
And I've just never done it before, and I immediately improved all of my own band's merchandising because of that experience.
Right. Once you get involved in that process, you see how other people are doing it, then you can implement it yourself.
So definitely
awesome.
a good example of just a type of gig that, especially during college, I would say yes to anything. Mm-hmm. But even now, if I'm free, I'll still say yes to pretty much anything.
Yeah.
But now I just have a more of a value standard
sure.
than when I was in college. But I think that my next show is going to be, I think in May.
What?
I don't know if this residency with Flyjack is back on.
Continental Club? Not Seaboys?
Yeah.
Okay.
But May 10th, there's a really fun show that's confirmed at Purple Bee Studios.
Okay.
It's going to be A-Town Get Down is playing, which we haven't played in a while. I'm trying to remember our last show. We played a show at Half Step in the last 6 months. Can't remember exactly when.
With
but
A-Town?
we don't get to play very often because we are all very busy. And A-Town Get Down will be playing at Purple Bee Studios on May 10th at, I believe, not 11.
10.
10-ish?
9.
9:30-ish?
8.
There's two bands playing. There's a band from, I believe, Maryland. Jordan Caulfield, the guitar player and band leader for A-Town Get Down, has a band that he used to play with in college called Written Prisms. They will be playing the first set at Purple Bee that same night at 7:30, followed by A-Town Get Down. This show will be live streamed on all social media platforms. Sick. You can find it through the Purple Bee website or through A-Town Get Down social media. Purple Bee TV, I believe purplebeetv.com, but they have all sorts of hyperlinks that you can take to whatever your preferred viewing medium is.
Awesome.
You can catch us on the metaverse if you like. You can really customize this experience just for you. Both bands will be recording a live album directly to wax. This is recording in the studio straight to vinyl.
Is it so you can only watch this online?
You can watch it online, and then it will exist on YouTube after the fact as well.
You can't really go to the venue and watch it.
And you can go to the venue.
You can. Okay, so yeah.
The studio is in Valente Beach, or Valente, Texas, rather, next to Valente Beach. They have partnerships.
So I'll have to watch it from the street.
They have partnerships with rideshare companies.
I thought it was here in Austin
as well.
How far is? I don't know where Valente is. How far is it
from here?
Yeah,
probably like a 45-minute drive.
That's not too bad.
Especially if you're leaving to get there by around 7.
Yeah.
They have all sorts of sponsors.
Okay.
So when you arrive, there's drinks and food, and then you can either sit yourself inside the studio right in front of the band, or you can wander outside the studio around the property with headphones that are locked in, Bluetooth headphones that are locked in on the live mix. So you could be outside, one ear, one out. You can be listening to the show, talking with some friends. You could go outside, have a smoke, listen to the show. You could go inside. You could just take the headphones off, listen to the show. You could go inside, leave the headphones on. It's really your choice.
That's kind of like silent disco, right?
It's the exact same headphones.
Oh, okay. That is...
Exactly, yeah.
How long has that... Because I've seen it at ACL. I've seen it at a few South by events.
Purple Bee's been using those headphones for a while now.
Shit. Okay.
And I think they've really started to utilize them at their new studio that they've been operating out of for the last few years now.
Yeah.
And then the wax aspect, recording a segment of the live show to an A side and B side of vinyl is a new thing, which is amazing. They'll bring a laser lathe. I'm probably butchering this process, but they'll bring the laser machine. I'm an expert. Into the studio, into the control room, and they will have the laser cut into the master plate what is happening on stage live. There's no mixing past what has already happened on the stream mix.
God, that's a stressful job.
Going straight to the laser.
Jeez.
The band will basically play for like 17 minutes.
Okay.
15 to 17 minutes, then they stop. Engineer takes the plate off, flips it around, puts it on. Well, he inspects it, makes sure it's not screwed up.
Yeah.
Puts it down, and then starts the laser, and then the band starts playing another 17-minute segment of music, and then stops, and that's it. That's the record.
Wow.
They take the plate and they press it into however many vinyls were purchased during the live stream, and they only sell the vinyls for those who purchased it during the live stream or pre-ordered it before the live stream. So it's cool. It's a really interesting aspect.
Yeah.
I've never had more vinyl of myself playing after this next show happens.
That'll be fun.
I'll have a whole section of my vinyl collection that's just me. It's kind of interesting.
Are you a vinyl guy?
I'm a vinyl guy.
Okay. I try to get into it, but I don't take the time to really, other than it's my cell phone. That's how I listen to my music now.
Oh yeah, that's how I listen to most of my music.
Phone.
My favorite thing to do with vinyl is that if I really love listening to an album, I will go onto Discogs, or I'll go onto just an online seller, and I'll find that vinyl and I'll buy that vinyl because I know I already love listening to it.
Okay.
And I'll go to record shops and I'll flip through it, and once in a blue moon I'll buy a random vinyl, or I'll recognize an artist and I'll just buy it and listen to it. But my favorite vinyl were the ones that I already knew I loved the music, and I just got the vinyl, and now I have like incentive to actually listen to it on that format, as opposed to random music that I could just listen to in half a second on my phone and understand whether or not I like it.
Okay. All right.
But
I can respect that process.
Lots of friends who they prefer vinyl just in general always.
Sure.
And they'll just always prefer like a random record on vinyl as opposed to vetting it on streaming.
Okay.
Different strokes for different folks.
Absolutely. Well, that event sounds very fun, and if I'm here,
May 10th.
I might make that trek out there, because I've never been to one of those. I know Third Man Records, Jack White's label. He's he kind of made that popular in that he just talked about it. I'm sure it's been done way before him. But I'm like, that'd be kind of cool to just listen to a band and then they record it and then maybe get the vinyl. I wouldn't buy the vinyl. Sorry, I'm not that guy, but I listen to your show.
I'd say past shows that I've done that you could watch now on YouTube to kind of like get a sense of what the studio vibe is like.
Yeah.
The Waters.
Okay.
They have a really amazing Purple Bee TV show. You can find that on YouTube or Facebook. And then also Big Wise recently did one. And that was in celebration of we do a show every year as close as possible to Big Wise Brass Band Day.
Yeah.
And so we did that. And then I think we're going to be getting
that's a fun band to go to live.
So those are on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then at the old Purple Bee studio, not the exact same studio, but still very similar format and still very good quality. The Capitol has a show on Purple Bee. One of my favorite bands to play with, one of my bands that I've started, funk band. And hopefully we'll go back to the new studio soon. We just haven't set it up yet. But the old studio is on YouTube, The Capitol. And I think Flyjack also has a Purple Bee studio session from the old studio on YouTube, but I don't think I played on it. But I'll still promote it.
Hey, all right. Respect.
I'm trying to think of all the bands I play in
That's
regularly.
tough to do, man. You play in a lot of bands.
Vincent Antone, you'll be getting content. You'll get content from that soon from the Denver show. Just stay tuned to all of Vince's social media platforms. I'm sure there's going to be some sick hype reels that are going to be dropped soon.
They've already dropped.
Continuing to drop.
That took a long time. That was a lot of content to go through, and that concert's an hour and a half. So, and the shitty thing is, I have to manually sync all the GoPros. So there was like 3 GoPros and a 360 camera. And I have to, and it's all out of order for whatever reason. Their numbering system.
Can 3 or more cannot connect mobily,
What's
like
that?
through Bluetooth? Can you not just sync them all up on one singular app?
Well, I would have to, in order for them to sync up with my cameras, my professional cameras, I would need a tentacle system. That costs money, and it's very rare that I need to sync 6 cameras to one audio track. And hindsight's 2020. I should have rented to solve this issue, but we'll figure it out. It's just a manual sync.
Let's blow this podcast up, people. We need some more revenue streams. We need sponsorships. We need to get the tentacle. We need to get this man the tentacle.
Oh man, that would As I got the footage back, and I'm trying to sync it all up because it was an awesome laser light show. But yeah, I'm like, this is gonna be
phenomenal.
A fucking minute. And then Vince's brother Christian was like, hey, so when's the full concert gonna be out? I'm like, it's gonna be months. It's gonna be a long time.
Can't imagine.
It's good. Everything is.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Everything that I wanted to capture, I captured it. The most important thing was getting good quality audio from the board, and we have that backed up twice. So everything is perfect for me to edit. So that was the biggest stress of that day, is just making sure we got the audio.
Syncing it all.
Well, syncing it all, that's just going to be a pain in the ass, but that's nothing new.
That's all post.
Yeah. I'm a professional. It's just like you only have that one moment to capture it all. Yeah. You better make damn sure you get it. So we did a good job, and thanks to Steven and John, they provided a little SD card to the guy.
Front of house engineer.
Yeah, there you go. That's the proper terminology. And yeah, he was able to hook us up with all the stems, and so. Dude, nice. That'll be fun.
Yeah, getting the live show audio is going to be so fun to listen back to and just pick apart.
We'll get you a copy. All right, dude. Well, that's all I got. Anything else?
Yeah. Shout out to some of my other bands.
Graffiti please.
Funk.
Yeah.
Fresh band in town. Check them out online. It's kind of like hip hop funk meshed into one. We will be having a show scheduled soon. It's not yet. Nightcap. Love my guys in Nightcap. They're currently on tour with Neon Trees. So y'all are crushing it. I think they're going to be scheduling an Austin show pretty soon, which is always a spectacular deal. Shout out to last May, playing Stubbs outdoors for the first time.
Nice.
And hope I'm not forgetting anyone. And all the people who hire me. I love all y'all. Big Wise. I already said Big Wise.
You did.
But, you know,
Yeah,
Big Wise, A-Town, The Capitol, Graffiti Funk, Flyjack. Hopefully we'll be starting our residency soon again at Sea Boys Wednesday nights. Stay tuned. Keep May in your calendar. Shout out to Wrongbird dropping an album in the last couple year and a half, and that's been doing super well. Thanks for having horns on that. Vince, looking forward to recording with you, my guy.
Yep.
And can't wait till our next show. I'm sure an Austin show is going to be hitting the book sometime.
Oh, it has to.
Sometime and then in the next year here in Austin. So looking forward to playing in Austin again. And to Outlaws of Funk and Eddie Robbins Band doing horns with y'all. Always been a blast. 420 at Half Step was all sorts of blast. And that was a bad joke. And we're rolling. It's been super fun playing with all these different bands in town, and I'm just happy I still get the call and that I still get to call trombone my job and my career passion all in one go. So.
Well, when you're good at what you do, you're gonna get the phone calls. People will find you.
Shucks, you're too nice.
Man, I had one other important question I was gonna ask you, but I'll remember it when you leave here after. Okay, cool. Well, William, thank you so much for being the first guest to bring me a coffee. That was really nice. That's always appreciated. Even though I typically drink beer on this show, it's nice reprieve to drink some caffeine. So
yeah, I was gonna get you a really specific brew, but they only had one option.
That's fine.
So I gave you that option. I hope it was all right.
Yeah, it was a good coffee. I always go with black just because you can really tell what the coffee roaster is doing, and if it's, I was hoping you weren't gonna bring me Starbucks, because if you brought Starbucks, I would have to kick you out of this studio.
I almost went to a Starbucks.
You son of a.
You probably wouldn't have appreciated my
It's so
strawberry oat milk latte.
Yeah, that's well, I think that's what they're known for, but their regular black coffee, it's always so bitter, and I never have. I don't like them.
Starbucks, I like to go for the lavender oat milk latte or their pistachio.
let me guess, you're a Starbucks connoisseur.
Orders we have here.
Okay. It's not like there's other coffee places that you could give your money to. You have to give it to the
I have to give it to
the almighty,
the Dark Lord of coffee.
Good for you, William.
I know.
What? Just for that, I'm going to end this podcast. So,
do you have anything exciting coming up?
Yeah, just going on these
Minneapolis.
Weekends. Yeah, Minneapolis, Kansas City. My favorite place is Seattle, so I'm really excited about that show. Are
these all Vince shows?
Well, they're part of Vince's touring. He's doing with Closey and LS Dream.
Right.
So he's on their bill, and it's fun to go to all these cities. And Seattle's going to be my favorite place. We'll spend probably a week there with me, and it's such a good time. I just love the area. I love the musical history or the bands that came out of that area. So I always play them on my playlist when we go up there. And Lauren's like, "Can we just listen to something else?" I'm like, "No, we have to listen to this."
This is the only music right now.
This is the way. And then other than that, yeah, just excited about this podcast. I have a few other guests that are coming on that I'm really excited about that aren't, well, they're music adjacent. Yeah, I'm really excited about just having more conversations on this couch, because this is fun.
Yeah, this is cool, dude.
Well, yeah. So
I'm glad that you asked me to come out
absolutely
and be a part of your podcast.
Again, it was a revelation.
I saw the Ruthie Kraft one.
Oh, yeah.
When that came out.
She's awesome.
And that was really fun. And I watched all the most recent ones you've been posting about.
You're the one, viewer. No, I'm kidding. No, this has been awesome. And it's slowly turning into a musician podcast. That's not the direction that I necessarily anticipated going, but it is going that way, so that's fine. I think it's very important for people who might want to be in the industry hear your all's stories, so that's important. And not name another podcast where a trombonist is going to come on and talk about his life.
Only nerds listen to those
exactly.
podcasts.
I want that viewership.
So,
I want the people who care, who give a shit.
You're either making me cool or you're turning your entire audience into nerds.
It's
because you got a trombone player on your podcast. You fell for the trap card of nerd podcasts when you got me on here.
I fell for the trap of like musicians not doing anything during the day. I'm like, hey, you want to come just have a conversation? And then it just kind of just went from there. Yeah. And it's a cool thing because I get to learn a lot about the industry and how to improve it, how to be a part of it, how to be sustainable in it while not also being greedy in it. And so I learned so much from this podcast. So I can't thank you enough for coming along.
Of course, man.
Cool.
We got endless stories to share. Why
Tons.
not? Why not share them and record them?
All right, America. That was William. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. It's always a pleasure to know that people actually watch these episodes, and I hope you get something out of it. And if you are in the Austin area, please go follow William and all of his other bands because all of these musicians are quite talented and they deserve viewership and they deserve an audience. And you're not going to be disappointed when you go to not only William's show, but any other show of the musical artists that I have on this podcast. So thank you so much. God bless.